David, first of all, tell us a little bit about grey power, because we used to hear an awful lot about you, particularly on the superannuation issue, and now we hardly hear about you at all. Why is that?
Oh, that's a bit sad. You don't hear much. No, we're pretty active in various areas that are affecting older people, and certainly had lobbied pretty hard on the superannuation area, and at this stage things seem to be stable, but certainly in areas like health and cost of living and that sort of thing, we've got major issues that we're working through. And I think what you're raising with the rates increases, the increase there, certainly our new tax relief of $2.15 per week per person is not going to cut it as far as those sorts of increases are concerned.
Going back though, David, to the issue of why I haven't heard so much about you. Seriously, the media would beat a door to grey power's presidents and press people 20 years ago, or even 20 years ago. Doesn't today. But it's one of the reasons is because the elderly are actually in quite a good position in this country vis-a-vis other generations. I mean, I was just thinking superannuation. You're saying you're happy with it. You've got, for example, the electricity surcharge or the electricity subsidy that's been provided for the winter months. You've got a gold card. No other generation in New Zealand's got those, have they?
No, they're still probably working, aren't they?
Yeah, so lots of people over the age of 65.
Yes, a number are, but I think the issue here, as far as those dependent on super, we have a large percentage, about 40% of those who are retired. That's the income that they're dependent to live on. Others, yes, do have more reserves, but if we look at those that 40%, they obviously are struggling during cost of living issues and rate rises like this. And the ones who are struggling the most are those who are living alone, particularly those who are renting, are really, really struggling on trying to survive on New Zealand super. For those who have their own homes, which is a majority at this stage, but it's getting less and less with those newly retired, the cost of living and particularly rates increases are meaning they're not able to afford maintenance on their houses, and these sorts of increases we're seeing more and more older people now depending on food banks because they just can't stretch the New Zealand super to pay for their costs, including power, etc.
That also, yes, but that also relies to people who would be under the age of 40, I guess, trying to raise children as well. There's a cost of living crisis, as we call it. Yep. I guess what I'm saying is one of the reasons you're not getting the natural level of sympathy you might have is because younger generations in particular who don't have the same home ownership rates, obviously, who have mortgages that would frankly have set our generation agog by comparison. They don't have access to a whole series of things that the over 65 does. Do you detect a lack of sympathy from younger age groups for the plight of the elderly when you recall them now?
Yeah, I think there is a little bit, and I think we've also got to be realistic as to what we focus on, and that is why I'm suggesting that we look at those who are really stretched and cannot do much for themselves. They're not the working families that the government has been talking about. They're older, frail, less able to look after themselves, and if they're alone and dependent on New Zealand super as their sole income, and having to rent, they have no security at all. I mean, landlords would rather probably get someone younger in who's prepared to pay more, and so they have no security of their accommodation. And those who do have a mortgage-free home, which we were all encouraged to have for our retirement, are just finding that New Zealand super by itself just doesn't allow them to do things like even downsizing. If you want to downsize today and you're in your own home, no bank will loan an older person any bridging finance to move into a smaller place, even though their property may be worth the amount that they could finance it, because they don't have the cash.
Right.
So even things like that are very, very
challenging. Are you saying there are discriminatory lending rates for the elderly? So I'm just running that one through. I haven't heard that before, David, so I just want to understand you properly. So if I'm sitting in a house worth, I don't know, $1 million, I won't say that. Let's just say $750,000, and I'm living in a provincial city, and I'm mortgage free, and I want to move into a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom unit in a retirement village or something similar, or not a retirement village, but just I want to downsize.
So I want to downsize in my own community,
and it's going to cost me say $500,000 or $550,000. You're saying what? That they won't allow me to get into that, purchase that house with $550,000 until I've sold my house, or what?
Right. So if it was available in the community and you could sell your house and be guaranteed that you can purchase it, yes, that works financially. Yeah. However, that is not the situation that most find themselves in. They find that they need to have that property built for them. And so over that period, they will need some bridging finance. No bank will loan them the money to do that. So they stay trapped in a 3 or 4 bedroom home that would be ideal for a younger family trying to move in for work, and they can't release it because that doesn't work. So there are things like that are barriers to many of our older people downsizing.
Okay, so the rates have come along. You're sitting in that particular position. You're dependent utterly. Presumably you're in a home of your own, which you either have no mortgage or a little mortgage on. If I've got a little mortgage and I'm on national superannuation, I'm assuming that I can still get an accommodation supplement or similar, yeah?
Okay, to get an accommodation supplement, your assets have to be less than $8,200. That has been a few decades that has been the level. Whereas if you move in, qualify for social housing, you're allowed assets of $44,000. Now, many older people are very concerned that if they perhaps have a little car, it will cost money, and they don't want to run their assets down that low. They may have, say, $10,000, but they do not qualify for an accommodation supplement. If they do run them down, then they get the accommodation supplement. Hasn't been increased for 6 years. Rents keep going up. The costs of your repairs and maintenance are going up. So they are in a pretty tough spot. Yeah.
If I go to retirement villages, which have become an option for literally thousands of elderly New Zealanders over the age of 65 now, over the age of 70, they are also expensive to get into. So you've got to have an asset that's available to purchase you one of those, and then to pay the ongoing maintenance costs that many retirement and rest villages charge you. Yes. I assume, therefore, you've got lots of elderly people rattling around in the family home because they simply can't afford that, yeah?
That's true. And they can't downsize.
Mm. So they're going to be staying in their own home and presumably getting further infirm, or as time goes by, relying upon, I guess, any meagre assistance that might be provided through what your local, used to be the district health board, I don't know who provides it now, home help, I think they call it.
That's right. Which is underfunded and under-resourced at the moment as well, which is causing significant problems for many with home care at the moment, which is a major issue for us as well.